I want to do a little bit of talking about this creative mind business. This was the other side of the tape was a talk that we gave to a class, and then when I got through, I realized this is something I'd never thought of before. I'm sure you all have thought of it, and that this is something, stupid that I would think it was new, but to me it's brand new. I've taught over and over, give yourself, give yourself. You've heard me, you've heard Miss Fry, Carol Fry, you've heard others on tapes talk about giving yourself and what it really means and how important it is to give yourself to the right person, the right things, the right situations. And over we've said now the Bible teaches if you give yourself, you get yourself, put yourself last, be first, the whole thing. And yet I guess I just fell in love with the Lord just a little bit more after teaching this class the other day and realizing that a creative mind comes from giving yourself. That as you get whatever you give yourself to, God turns around and gives yourself back to you plus so much more. If you ever had any creative ideas, if you could ever do anything that's creative, if you ever could create in people and help people, even if you give those ideas away, and so that you'll hurry and seek ideas from everybody else and say, hey, I've got to get ideas from everybody. I got to go here. I got to go there. I'm up against it. I don't know anything. And feel that you really don't. Know that you really don't know that much. And as you go to give yourself and watch others and learn from others, you turn around and become what people say is creative. I've always known I was not creative. Some of you are going to say, oh, she's so modest, isn't that sweet? No, I'm not at all. I know I'm not creative, and I've always known it, but I don't think I understood it in such a way as until yesterday as to why I evidently appear creative to some people. Some people feel that I am creative. I was asked to teach the creative mind, which shows that there is someone who thinks that I know something about being creative. And then I understood why people might think that I'm creative, because I use so many different people, because I go towards so many people, because I watch so many people, observe people, learn from them, and therefore I have all their ideas and appear creative. Isn't that something that God will turn around and let you be more than you ever could be within yourself because of the fact that you give yourself away? Or at least in some instances give yourself away, as you forget what you want to think about and just sit and listen to teachers, or forget what you want to think about and just sit and listen to the preacher. Instead of twiddling and thinking, I got to go home and do this and that, just completely become absorbed in the preacher, and you get some idea that you stop and think on, and that turns your mind into some kind of a creative factory that you never had to begin with. Whatever you give yourself to, you will become creative in. For instance, if you give yourself to things, you're probably creative about things. There are people who give themselves to no person, but they give themselves to things. There's some women who give themselves to their house. And that's wonderful, to be a homemaker and to really have a lovely home with beautiful things in it. And they can do all these crafts, and I admire that so greatly. And they give their full time to it. So they become very creative homemakers because they give themselves to books about it. They give their attention to people who they can learn from. They go to homes and pick up new ideas in homes, and they go visit all kinds of stores, all kinds of companies, and watch all kinds of catalogs. They really give themselves to a house and therefore are creative. Or I was talking with a girl who's sitting here now listening who is creative with clothes and makeup. If someone needs to know something about how to take their wardrobe and make more of it, she can help them do it because she's spent full time. She's majored on clothes and makeup. She hasn't majored on people, and she's had a hard time fighting criticism, and she's had a hard time liking people she didn't really understand, but she's creative where she gave herself. She gave herself to clothes. She goes shopping, she looks for clothes, she looks at things, she cares about makeup, she goes and checks out all the different stores and all the different new makeups, and she knows about it all. And therefore she's creative in it. Now she's doing some attending to people. She's giving attention. She's attending to folks and adding that to her life. Oh, she'll keep the creativity in the clothes and the makeup, but now she's using it for some other people that she might help with clothes. Instead of having clothes as an end in itself, she's using it for the Lord and helping others who might not have very much of a wardrobe and might need some help in how to coordinate clothes in order that they might look nicer and be used of God in a greater way because of the fact that they want to look their very best for the Lord. This is what I'm talking about. Wherever you give yourself, you're going to be creative. Another girl sitting here gave herself as far as learning to type well, learning sewing, crafts, go shopping all the time, loves to shop, loves to look at things that are different and new, and they excite her. And she was able to relate to people through these things. If she could type for them or sew for them or make something for them or go buy a card for them, she could relate to them. Other than that, she did not give herself. She's just beginning to give herself in order to learn to communicate to people with her mouth instead of with her hands through sewing and typing and doing that type of thing for them. Oh, I hope she'll keep the sewing, typing, and the doing things, buying cards and writing notes and being able to make little special custom pillows, like she makes little cushions for couches, and everybody likes the things she does. But I hope she'll add to her life in order she'll really be able to look somebody in the eyes and say, I love you. And she's giving her attention to that and going toward it and seeking it out and giving herself to people who know how to do that, so that she won't just sit back and say, well, I already know this and that, and I'm pretty good, and people think I'm better than some people. But no, going toward giving herself to someone who will help her add that to her life. Carol Fry's here, and we've just been talking over this thing back and forth, and I'm just so excited about it. And I said, let's do just a little bit of talking about it. Carol, you know what I said to you this afternoon? Does this make sense to you? You'd better say it does.
Yes, it does.
Can't you just see her say, no, Mrs. Evans, I don't get it at all. I'll give myself to you with my hands around your neck. If you
Yes, I know you would.
No, but really, is this new, or did it just dawn on my dense head for the first time?
This really makes a lot of sense, because so many people come to me. I work with the college activities here at Hiles-Anderson, and have parties and all the things that when we honor special people. And when I am a nurse, and when I came here, I didn't know anything about college activities. And now everybody comes to me and says, where do you get all your ideas at? Where do you get all your ideas at? And I say I steal them. And I do steal them, and I listen to other people, and everything I really learned from activities is from you, from Mrs. Evans. And because I sat and listened to what you said, well, how did you do this? What did you do this? And remember how you couldn't even remember some things, but I forced you to think.
And then I'd say to you, now when I was at Highland Park, Dr. Faulkner said this. I got this, and let me think what Dr. Faulkner said to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just constantly going back to other people. That's why we cannot at all ever think, aren't we great? Mm-hmm. You know, in fact, this is very deflating. The only thing that's great about this, that it isn't deflating, because at least you've learned enough to be teachable and watch people and learn from them. Mm-hmm. So it really isn't deflating. Mm-hmm. But as far as to think you know anything yourself, you know, right, you have them come to you and ask for bus programs. Mm-hmm. You know, and what is it? Some of the kids, their bus routes aren't growing, and they don't seem to be doing anything on the buses. What's the matter?
Well, really, they don't captivate the kids. And most of it, I guess, the only thing I would have that would be God-given is a sense of humor that would relate to this. But as far as having ideas of how to get people involved, or how to get kids and how to keep their attention, I didn't have any. Yeah. And it's really what they need to do is think on that kid's level. And so when they come to me, I just start asking them questions. I start trying to make them think.
Okay, like what?
Like I'd think, well, where are most of your kids from? In other words, where are they? Bus kids? Are they real bad kids from Chicago, or are these good kids? What type of kids are they?
Good kids from Cherville, like mine, you mean? Or bad kids from Chicago?
I don't know how good yours are, Mrs. Evans.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're little angels.
Yeah. And so I ask them what type of kids they are, and so what things do they need to learn? Mm-hmm. Like kids who are from First Baptist families that may, you know, maybe there's an A route in Hammond, and these are kids who've got pretty good homes. Well, they don't need to learn so many things about manners always, or how to sit right, or that kind of stuff. Maybe they need to learn more about how to get out and witness, and how to do things. Whereas the Chicago bus kids, Jojo Moffat and Roy Moffat teach those kids how to sit right, how to have their hair cut short, how to wear dresses. And so I start making them see really the needs of people. If they know the needs of the people, like you taught me what our kids need. I mean, I never worked at a college before, and I never knew that the kids would get that homesick, because I never got that homesick. So you taught me, well, they get homesick, so here's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. So I try to lead them to see the needs of the people. Mm-hmm. And then they can think of something to do for the needs.
In other words, if they give themselves to you and you ask them questions, and then if they'll give themselves to the kids.
Right.
But there's a lot of the problem right there. They don't give themselves to the kids. They get on the bus route and say, it's 30 minutes I'm going to be on this bus, or an hour, and how am I going to get the time by? And when I get home, what I want to do is study or go to sleep or whatever, and they don't even really, they wouldn't even have to know anything.
Right.
If they just gave themselves to the kids, just stood up and told the kids how much they cared for them, and made conversation and talked to each one of them, they wouldn't even have to know anything. But again, it's giving yourself. But of course, they need to give themselves to the kids. Then they need to give themselves to some people that they know are doing the job on a bus route, and go get everything that those people are doing. And they need to say, and certainly they don't need to say, well, I can't see myself doing that. I mean, whether you can see yourself doing it or not, if you give yourself, you do it anyway if the kids need it. So, I mean, creative mind, I just never realized it was because it was from giving yourself. And to think that the Lord tells us to give ourselves and lose your life to find your life, and go by do not speak evil against your rulers, and which just about means give up your own thinking, and then turns around and gives you so much more that people are really fooled into thinking you're somebody. Isn't that just like the Lord? To give you more.
He gives you more than,
And we say it all the time, but I can't get over it. And something you said just a minute ago I want to pick up on. You said that the people, when they come to you from the bus routes and all, act as if they can't get people to work. They might say, or I believe you mentioned, I didn't know how to get people to work. And that's the biggest thing you hear from women in fundamental churches across the country. I just can't get anybody else to do anything.
Right.
Don't you think that's because they don't give themselves? I mean, you can't just get up and be big leader and and big boss and get people to do things. But when you give yourself to people, how come right now, while we're sitting here making this tape, how many do you suppose are working on a party for the college right now? People who are not paid, but have just been recruited. I've seen several.
At least 20, 25, 30.
And there have been people in and out throughout the afternoon, and they're putting themselves and they're giving themselves.
Right.
Well, you taught, and some other people who are working with you in activities, how'd you get them? Because other people would say, well, I don't know, I just can't get anybody to do any work. Or they come and they won't stay. Well, why did they come and why are they staying? They don't have to. It's not a rule.
Well, first I gave myself, and I've done a lot of the stuff that they're doing now before I even was hired at the college. As the first thing is giving yourself to the small tasks and being willing to do anything. I think that. And then I taught people under me that people want to be motivated, but they really want to do something, but they act like they don't. They don't even know they want to. Most of them, you have to make them realize that they want to get involved and then push them to get involved. And when you realize that helps you get somebody involved. Go out and just get them. And really, it's just keep asking for people, and eventually, if you keep on and you keep giving yourself, you're going to get somebody who wants to keep giving themselves, and it multiplies. It reproduces.
So again, giving yourself. God gave himself through his son. Jesus gave himself. The whole pattern's giving. The whole pattern's loving. And if you love, you're going to give, and if you give, you're going to love. It's just all interacts here, and it's the whole thing of Christianity. And yet we think we can just tell people and they'll do it. Then we can just boss them and give them the instructions and they're going to do it. Well, they just aren't going to do it. There are just very few that are going to do it. We're going to have to give, and we're going to have to love.
Something that you taught me, I think so many times we sit down and we think, okay, I have to think of a great idea. We try to force our minds to think of great ideas or something new or something we haven't seen, instead of thinking of the people and what the people need. Because like on holidays, you especially taught me this. Well, what would you like if you were, okay, we used to sit down and think, what can we do on Thanksgiving? Well, my mind would be a blank. Okay, but you'd say, all right, if you were home on Thanksgiving, what would you want?
Or at college, you mean?
Yeah, but if you were home, what would you want at home?
I'd ask you that.
Yeah, you'd ask me what would I want at home.
I'd say I'd want the kids be doing if they got to go home.
Football game, bowl of popcorn, and then at nighttime snacks. Being able to just to sit down and play a game, and so
and go out and get their own snacks, cut their own turkey, instead of having it set out by the college.
Right. So then that makes us think that's what they'd like here at college. In other words, you always, whenever we'd say we don't know what to do, you'd start saying, well, what would you like if you were at home?
In other words, it's asking questions, too.
And knowing that, it's asking questions, and it's knowing, starting with the needs of the people. In other words, not trying to think I got to come up with a great idea, or I've got to be creative, or I've got to think this way.
I got to impress everybody.
Right, that's the wrong way to start at it. That the way to go at it is trying to think of the people, and that again is going back to others.
Giving to others and caring about others, and then maybe bringing a bunch of them together to say, what do you think you'd want? And sometimes they don't know, but sometimes as you begin to guide their thinking, they say, hey, yeah, that's what they want. So we can sit in offices and plan things that don't go over out in the boondocks at all, out whether it's a college or bus route or whatever it is. That's for sure. Okay, something else that impressed me on the other side of the tape, I was so impressed by what I said on the other side of the tape. I couldn't get over what I said. That criticism, it's impossible to be a critic and be creative. Now, a couple of the girls that we're looking at now had real problems with criticism, and yet were creative in certain areas.
Right. But you know what? I bet it's like, Sue wouldn't be critical of some new thing with the hands. She would never be critical of.
Right.
But the area that she was weak in, she'd be critical of.
People. And then I wouldn't be critical of people as I might be critical, like I'd like to go beat in a door or something if it didn't move right. I'd be critical of things,
Because you don't work on those.
No. I need to add that to my life a whole lot.
You better start knitting, Mrs. Evans.
I better start knitting, right? But, I always say I'm not good with my hands and that type of thing. But now I'm wondering, I bet I could knit. Hey, we're betting a whole lot here. Well, we'll give up betting. I think I probably could do that. I just haven't given myself to it.
Right.
I didn't give myself to it. Even people who show me those things, I kind of like them, but I don't really give attention to them at all. So in other words, whatever we're weak in, we can go after. So that would seem to say you're creative in direct proportion to how much you give yourself, and you're creative in the areas that you give yourself, and that's it. So when we sit back and say, I just can't get ideas, she's got all the ideas and I don't have any. There's just not a thing to it. What they're saying is I just don't give myself. They really right, instead of saying that you don't have a creative
That's
mind.
why so many times people say, how does Dr. House ever come up with this new fall program? Or how does he come up with this idea? Or how does he come up with that idea? And he counsels 150 people a week or something like that. And it seems like you get on a splurge where you have a ton of ideas, and it's because you've been with so many people, giving yourself to people. And so then, the more people you give yourself to, the more God blesses you and gives you an abundance of ideas. And almost too much stuff that you can't even get done.
Dr. Howes, when he told us that he went around to churches, I really didn't believe that. It's hard for me to believe that Dr. Howes really went around to churches. He said any size church, little church, big church, churches that maybe weren't seeming to do so good in some areas, they were weak or whatever. He would go around until he found something in that church wherever he was visiting. He'd go around until he found something that he could take home. And so he's watched, he's given attention to, and then recently in Wednesday night Bible study, he gave from Proverbs, incline thine ear to wisdom, and told how he listens to everything. And if he runs onto somebody from whatever their job is, he wants to know all about that job. Then it seems like he knows everything about everything. Right. And I just feel like he knows everything, that there's nothing he doesn't know about. Well, I guess it's because he's given himself to people. And giving his ear, incline himself toward people, and that we could have it too. It's an exciting thought, because it's so exciting because we need so much more creativity than we have in our homes. Even people say, "Well, I don't know what to do with my kids. I don't know." I've had mothers say, "You say have fun with them. How have fun?" What would you, Carol, if you were in a home, you're talking about your kids in the dorm, what do you think you could do if you had a few children in a house? Would you go at it the same way that you went at it in the dorm almost?
Well, I said on the tape I made before this that you need to enter their world, leave your world and enter theirs. And that goes again, I guess, to thinking about what they need and what they like. And so I know for one thing, I'd take them outside and I'd probably go build like right now there's a bunch of piles of leaves, and I'd just pile up the leaves and go jump in them. You did it this afternoon? Yeah. What's the tape? Tell them the tape you're talking about. The tape I'm talking about is Love Does Not Dominate, It Cultivates. Buy Carol Fry. Be sure to buy that if you don't have it. It's really good.
Isn't it, Miss Fry?
Yes.
Okay, let's take Tony Brown, Connie Brown's son. Well, tell me some things you've done with him, because when he sees you, he just lights up. How old is he?
He's 9 years old, I think. 9? Yeah, 9 or 10.
And Connie is the one who rides the bonnet string, the lovely gal who rides the bonnet string. She's a friend of Carol's. And when Tony will say, "Oh, Miss Fry, are you coming over? Oh, can you come over?" Well, what'd you do the last time you went over to there?
Well, he has a little gerbil, and its name is Sleepy. And he has one of these new neat cages for it that's got the connecting tubes. And so I said, "Listen, I want to see him and touch him." And he said, "Well, we can let him out in the bathtub." So we went to the bathtub, and we put the cage in the bathtub and let out the gerbil, and he ran around, and we put our hands down and had the gerbil run over it and get used to us. And I asked him,
now, where was Connie when you were doing all
She was
this?
downstairs talking to 2 girls that I'd brought over.
So you just left the adults?
Right, I left the adults.
And gave yourself to Tony?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And I listened to him. And I don't think people take a lot of time. Well, I don't think people take a lot of time to listen to anybody, but especially kids. Especially kids, because they're just too busy. They just take so much time. And so I listened to Tony, and he brought out his Matchbox cars. And I said, "Oh," and I said, "How come some of these cars are older than others?" And he told me about which cars he got first and what this car does, and little parts move on it. And I looked at his cars, and I listened to him. And just listening to him, he just always wants to talk to me.
And then you really like it, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You're not just putting that on.
Yeah.
I mean, you see to it that you give yourself enough that you like that, so that it's genuine, and he knows that.
That's what happens.
You have to give yourself. I mean, you can't put this kind of thing on. You have to think on that child and like that child and like what you're doing and give yourself to it to where you're really liking it, because people can tell if you don't like it. This is going on to a completely different subject, but this relates so tremendously to the sexual relationship and marriage, doing your duty or enjoying your husband, and it can be told. And I think you can teach little children to give themselves in a way that you're all ready to be preparing them to give themselves to a husband or wife in many phases of their lives, and you're already preparing them for a good marriage if they have learned to give themselves.
That's right.
That's why the marriages are no good. We don't think on, plan on, attend to, really give attention to. We never zero in on just a child. We so seldom zero in on a husband or a wife. We just try to do 16 things at once all the time and never really give ourselves to anyone. Carol, I was thinking about your dorm picnic the other night. I know that you had a really good time on that. And let's see, we have a dorm girl sitting here right now. Okay, Jenny, come here. What you do exciting on Miss Fry took her floor on a picnic at Cedar Lake Bible Conference grounds, and what big exciting things did you do?
We went on a hike, and that was the most fun thing, because as soon as we got there, Miss Fry said, "Okay, you guys, everybody that wants to go on a hike with me, let's go." And so she knows Cedar Lake real well, so we went on a hike, and we had a good time. And then we went down by the water, and she said, "Anybody who can skip a stone 7 times can go out to dinner with me." Well, my roommate won, and I got real jealous. But anyway, Miss Fry can skip stones better than anybody, because her stones skip about 9 times, and she'd pick up one that didn't even look like a good stone, and it would skip so many times. So we were really excited, and a lot of the girls that were with us didn't know that Miss Fry was so cool and that she could do that. But it was really exciting, and it drew us real close, because later on we went and sat by the fire and roasted marshmallows, and she told us stories about when she was a nurse. And we had a really good time, because we felt like she didn't exactly become a buddy, because we still have to respect her even when she comes down and plays with us. But still, she acted like she really loved us, and she wasn't thinking about anything at the college. She was just thinking about being with us and making us happy.
There was a group, I think, who did not go with you and did not stay with you. When you could choose to do what you wanted to, couldn't you, Jenny? And most chose to just stay with Miss Fry, but a group did not go. And from what I understand, they just didn't have as good a time at all, because they didn't do big things like skipping stones. In other words, it's not how big the thing is.
Right.
It's that you gave yourself completely. And those are college girls. How many college girls were by your side walking to do things like skip stones?
About 15.
About 50. I mean, college girls out having a big time, spending a long time. You know, you'd think, oh, you'd have to have all the sports equipment in the world, everything great, big program, you know, and you skip stones. You know, but you gave yourself while you're skipping stones, while someone else might plan the big things and not give themselves after they plan the big things. So the answer, again, is in giving yourself. we've talked about the dorm girls. That could be your Sunday school class girls. That could be your bus route girls. Please, people, don't. These are just girls. And we're talking about your children in the home and how much they want you to just sit down and just listen to them and play with them and talk with them. My son especially likes a certain babysitter that comes and stays with him sometimes when he's sick. And I said, why do you like that baby? He said, she has time to just listen to me. And she talks to me. And she plays games, and she likes the games. She really likes the game. That's the thing. She enters his world. She gives herself completely to him. And as she gives herself completely to him, he's excited and happy, and it's something that most of us have never learned to do. Tell a little bit about that girl that I'm describing who David feels that way about.
Well, she just about enjoys everybody. And she doesn't talk about herself very much. And she comes up and says, hello, beautiful lady. And she's very happy-go-lucky, and she does a lot of stuff for other people. And she really thinks about the other person a lot.
Does she spend much time looking into her own feelings or talking about, as far as you know, talking about how she feels about it?
No, very little.
But spends a lot of time giving herself to other people, so she's happy. Mm-hmm. Give yourself away, and you get yourself back, plus so much more than you could ever be. You want a creative mind? Give yourself away.
Ideas that seem to be creative come not from your own mind, but they come from giving yourselves to others. Brother Howes has time after time said he has gone to church, from church to church to church, just going around looking for ideas. That he may travel up and down the Sunday school departments. He may go to a church that possibly he doesn't think has that many good ideas, yet he finds some idea from every church where he goes. He spends time trying to gather from his followers, then comes back, puts them in books, he says, you've heard him say it, and sells them to those very followers. So probably the most creative mind we feel around here is Dr. Howes, and he says he is not creative at all, but that he gives himself to others. And as he had just told us 2 or 3 Wednesday nights ago, he inclines his ear to wisdom. He constantly is picking up, watching, observing, checking details so that he'll be able to do some of the things that he's able to do for us even now. This morning when I went into an educational concepts class made up mostly of young men, we decided to think what would be a creative thing to do for Miss Phyllis when she comes back Monday. As far as I know, she'll be back Saturday, but most of us will not know it until Monday. She'll come to her room and have the weekend to rest. People won't be around that much. And Monday in chapel will be the first time that we'll know Miss Phyllis is back. Now, you have to program people to think of others. I don't know why it is, but most of us have to have someone to jerk our minds loose a little bit, or we'll not even realize Miss Phyllis was gone. I'm so sorry that we're like that. And I'm like that too. I told that class this morning there have been times when students came back to visit and I hadn't realized they were gone. I see so many people, and then there are so many I don't see for a long, long time, and then they show up after a couple months and I run into them and say, hey, this is the first time I've seen you this year. Until there are times when people come back to this school and I hadn't realized they were visiting. That always makes me feel a little sad, and it makes me certainly feel very, very human, which of course we all are, and that's why we have to program how we're going to react to Phyllis. Phyllis has been gone for several weeks. Phyllis has been at Johns Hopkins Hospital, and they've been trying to fit her for a brace so that she'll be able to have a surgery in a year, which might help her to retard that she's growing smaller. Can you believe? And of course, they'd like to retard that as much as possible. So she'll be in a brace. One of our girls from school here flew up, and they taught her how to put the brace on Phyllis. And Phyllis is coming back with a golf cart, and she's coming back with a new brace, and she feels that we've been waiting for her to come back. And so we got to thinking about it in class, and I said, what can we do? And we just took down every note that anyone said. What we can do for Miss Phyllis. Number 1, put posters and signs up around the school. 2, notes on her room wall. Different people just said these things. We just took down everything that was said. We didn't question. We didn't say that's been done before. We just took it. Number 3, box of notes from students. Number 4, escort from security when Mr. Klingensmith gets back with her sometime tomorrow with the golf cart and all in the school van. Number 5, carry her into chapel on a throne. Number 6, parade. Number 7, fruit basket in her room. Number 8, have a witches' convention because Monday is Halloween and she would be the queen of the witches. I said, oh no, they'll say we're having witchcraft. Number 9, introduce her vehicles to the student body so that we'll know how to help with her and what to do about the golf cart and all, and this type of thing. So we just started taking down every note about it. I believe that is a creative mind. I don't believe any of us have creative minds in ourselves. We have to just get a group of people, and it's, again, maybe this is part of Christian fellowship, and that we can get together with a group of people and together find something that could be used of God. What stifles creativity? What are the things that stifle creativity? Fear of failure. I mean, fear of saying something and people saying, that's been done before, or that's stupid. I mean, it's scary for me to get up here because I know there are people here sitting here saying she's crazy. That's stupid. I think this is ridiculous. Why don't we have something that really means something? I mean, so I have a fear of failure, knowing already that I've failed with some before I ever got up here. I might say this, and I don't say it out of a heart of hatred or bitterness at all, but of sorrow. Those of you who are sitting here criticizing will never have a creative mind. Because criticism stifles creativity. Criticism is one of the great stiflers of creativity. Fear of failure is one of the stiflers of creativity. Negativism obstructs creativity. You can't do that. Well, I don't know how that'd work. We've tried it before and it didn't work. Oh, you know what'll happen with something like that. Of course you have to face the dangers, and after you've had one of these sessions of sitting around deciding what you're going to do, you're going to have to say, now, will that work? Or what do you think? Should we really use this? At the end of a time like that, after you've had all that, and by then you have so much, you probably can say, well, if there's any doubt, throw that out. And there's no problem about it. But as people say things and toss out ideas, you cannot throw them out. That's negativism, that's criticism, and critics aren't creative. You'll never find a creative critic. There is no way that can go together. Criticism is destructive, it's ugly, it's down, it's everything but creative, which is up. Everything, you just cannot criticize and be creative. Ever, 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 ever. Even if you are really just in your criticism, even if they are justly criticized, people or things or situations, even if it's justly, I know people who sit here and watch skits in chapel and say, I could do better. They'll never do better. They'll never be the ones to do better. They don't know how many things were already thrown out by the administration. They don't know how difficult, how many people didn't show up who were supposed to show up. They don't know how many hours it takes just to do one little old tiny thing in chapel and get it all right. And I criticize the skits. And usually we go out and we criticize and evaluate, but it's to do something better. It's not to just criticize. I heard a person this year who's working on skits say, I criticized these skits all last year, and boy, I know now. Well, I know. And you'll never do a better skit as long as you're a critic. Never, 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 never. Thinking of self blocks creativity. Thinking of yourself blocks creativity. Because if creativity is giving yourself to the ideas of others and watching what others do and giving yourself to details of those things around you, how can you give yourself to details of those things around you when you're thinking of yourself? Exhaustion, complete exhaustion. I'm not talking about being tired. You can get a second wind and go on. But when you're so exhausted and so much, the sleep bank there's a debt there that's far in the arrears. It's very difficult to be creative. Exhaustion kills creativity. Mrs. Moffat, just a minute, I have a few more. Overt sin kills creativity. If you're out in illicit sex acts, drinking, trying to find dope, and this type of thing, all your creativity is going to go toward finding the dope, finding the drugs. People who have ever been on drugs, you spend almost all your waking hours trying to figure out how to get more. You spend all your time. All your creativity is gone. There's nothing. If it's giving of self that is creativity, then there's nothing more to give. After you spent your whole time trying to figure out how to have more affairs or how to have more drugs or how to have liquor or whatever it is. So overt sin kills creativity. There's just no desire to create when you're in overt sin. You've seen often great executives who have had tremendous businesses and have been creative minds in the executive world who began to have an affair and didn't care anymore about their business, their employees, or anything. Or you've seen people begin to not even be able to care about their children. They look at them and see them through glazed, dazed eyes. There's nothing left after you spend all your time trying to get to the sin. Get to the sin. Find a way to the sin. Find a way to the sin. All your creativity's used up. We're too dignified. Our dignity and our false pride will keep us from trying to get every idea, every place we go, finding things to do, finding and being creative. Mrs. Moffat, come on up, will you? We haven't talked at all about the November split chapel. That's a week from today, and we really don't have time with the spectacular coming up and everything. We really don't have time. Okay, this is for me to just write things on. Okay, now I have had no word with you at all, and I don't have any idea of what we're going to do at all. What do they need? What do the girls need for split chapel? It's November. I mean Thanksgiving. Let's see. Thanksgiving. Thankfulness. But everybody's going to be doing that. I want something different. It'll be right after the spectacular. Trees, you know me and trees, but we did trees, you know, and trees at the spectacular. Turkeys. Yeah, bring in a bunch of turkeys. Yeah, to give them turkeys to the turkeys. Oh, no. Let's see, turkeys. Let's see.
I think, since it's the beginning of November and turkeys, if we had, like, turkey to eat, really, some kind of food.
Jojo, you know we don't have any money to give those kids turkeys. This school, you know we don't have any money.
We could send someone to find some turkeys, I'm sure, if we just...
You mean just go out and hunt them and shoot them and bring them in, or what?
Sounds good. No, have like, I don't know, just to make it different where they could taste. To me thinking of Thanksgiving, like, honestly, like maybe turkey and toothpicks or...
Oh, you mean just a little tiny piece?
Oh, I mean just cut up a big big turkey and then just pass them around.
Give everybody a gizzard or something like that.
Or a bone.
Yeah.
I think a little piece of turkey with toothpick or something. Maybe cranberry juice and dilute it.
With what? With what? Cranberry juice and turkey, okay?
That'd be good.
Now, what's this? What's it going to teach? What are we trying? What do they need? What do they need this time of the year? The kids are. Let's see. Will they have got? It'll be before the spectacular. Oh, I'm sorry. It's next Friday.
Right.
It's before the spectacular and it's before Thanksgiving.
I was thinking.
Hey, it's my last time to talk to them before they go home.
That's what I'm thinking about. Not only that, Miss Evans, what about being thankful? I mean, I know it's the same thing as everyone has, but the thing of being thankful, in so many verses of Scripture we could take that, thankful in victories, thankful for all things, thankful, the Bible speaks in Colossians, being thankful in all things, and victories, it speaks of victories, thankfulness.
Last month we did unity and had the victory yells and everything because of unity.
Before going home, they could be thankful for the things that have taken place at school, the victories to share with their family, and their church people, and their parents. And in their dorms, have them come up to talk in mics. Being thankful, be telling things they're thankful for.
What they've learned already that they're going to take home. In other words, we be going, instead of saying, watch it, girls, last Thanksgiving they said this and they never got back and all that, program what the positive.
Right.
In dorms, thankful for what's happened in the dorms.
Right, the blessings of the church. Little Miss Phyllis coming back, and so the victories of that.
Have Miss Phyllis up there?
She could, that would be tremendous. And victories. She could speak of victories.
Okay.
And maybe have a theme. You could decorate it. If you want to have the decorations, do it different. Have like maybe the main thing with the slogan across the top. Thank you for the victories. Something like this.
Thank you for the victories. I like that, JoJo. Thank you for the victories. That's the whole. Let's make that the whole thing. Thank you for the victories. I love that. Thank you for the victories. Okay.
We could go into something like
which just programs more victories. Victories during Thanksgiving, victories during the spectacular. We're just
victories in our life, and the victory will be going toward the spectacular. Thank you. All the things we'll be getting involved in. If anything, the week involved in the week before spectacular. So many of these girls are working in the spectacular, and the devil's going to try to work at them and not giving a victory in the work and the jobs that need to be taking place.
Okay, victory in their work. Okay.
Schoolwork.
All right, decorations. I still love those, big old horns of plenty.
Well, we can get, I just checked on those corn stalks. There's a field over there, and the farmer says, if I go get them, I can have them all I want.
Okay.
So
I'd love to have that. Yeah,
pumpkins.
cornstalks. I'd love to have a huge what do you call it? Cornucopia? I'd like to have one that Phyllis could come out of.
Bring her in it
Bring her in it. Could we do that?
and hide her.
Hide her. Oh, I like that. Where do we get that?
Let's see. I saw one at a floral shop, at a Hoosier floral shop a couple years ago. Let me check on that.
Well, what about if you even made one out of chicken wire and just put tissue paper over it or something?
And she's thankful for her victory.
Thankful for her. I like that.
Mrs. Barber's coming back. You know what I mean?
Mrs. Barber from Mayo's Clinic, a faculty member, and Miss Phyllis is kind of staff.
Kathy Adams.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, the student for her. That's a victory. Whew.
Let's see.
Kathy Adams, Mrs. Barber, and Mrs. Who? Who'd I say? Miss Phyllis. Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. I mean, we'll go. That'll be it. Okay, we'll go from there, and that will be it. That's about as much. We spend time. Usually, that's about what we do. I mean, it's just get together and brainstorm. Let's see, turkey. What do you want turkey for? But do sound like that television program. What is it where they go, back and forth what they're thinking of? What? I've got a secret. Yes, and then one matching words or something like that. I mean, you get all ooh, and some of you are just not going to get all ooh, because you look down on it so bad, and you criticize it so badly. And you'll just not do it. And it does take getting a little bit excited. It's very hard to say, let's see, what will we have for that party? Do you believe the dear Lord would bless if we had turkey on a stick? It's very difficult, somehow or other, to make it that way. That doesn't mean there aren't other times in your life that, I hope that this brings much victory and blessing. That it helps some girl not to go home and think she can go ahead and play around with sin and get back to school. I hope God will use and bless this thing a whole lot. Where do you get it? Where do you get the ideas? I get them in church. I get them in chapel. I get them in counseling others. I get them in talking in halls. You could get them in dorm rooms. You get them from billboards. For instance, a different woman. I received a letter the other day, Mrs. Evans, thank you so much for the idea of a different woman. And that slogan has been used. Women who didn't know why they shouldn't wear slacks and have been told don't wear, when they heard, look, you can go to heaven, but don't you want to be a different woman? That somehow has spurred them on. It isn't my idea. I'm so glad they thanked me for it. But I saw advertising has spent millions of dollars for that idea. It's just a wee bit different. Remember? It's just a wee bit different. Give your attention to some of those things you see just along the highway. People have spent millions of dollars sitting around brainstorming just like this to get some kind of crazy idea like that. And take it and use it for the Lord. The whole world's looking for something just a wee bit different. So, of course, they're looking for something a wee bit different as far as people are concerned. And that's what we're supposed to be, is different. So we have a song, different women that are used to God. And it just came from a billboard. Billboards, paying attention to details, amusement parks, brainstorming. Where do you get them? Church, chapel, counseling others. Some of the best ideas I've ever received are from students, and some of them not here because they've been expelled. I've received good ideas from bad students. Good students, too. But, we don't throw anybody out as far as ideas are concerned. You don't know who God wants to use. That's why you don't throw anybody out. That's one good reason. You don't know why God had them cross your path and what He's going to do for you through them. Where do you get it? Church, chapel, counseling others, or being counseled, talking in halls, dorm rooms, billboards, paying attention to details, amusement parks, brainstorming, and then picture things. Stop and picture things. You say, well, how do you love Miss Phyllis? How would you love her? I don't know. I don't even know her. Phyllis has arrived early. We're going to let her come in today instead of Monday. Okay.
Okay, Miss Phyllis is right over there in that next room. We're going to real real good cheer. So you all follow us, okay? Ready? Yay, Miss Phyllis, rock! Yay, Miss Phyllis, rock! Come on!
Miss Phyllis, we really wanted to honor you. You've been gone for so long, honestly. You've really left an empty spot on this campus.
I just meant let's move the pulpit back.
All right.
Maybe go ahead even while they're doing it.
It's kind of hard to put words on it, but it's the sort of thing, well, like, it's been a long time since I've been interrupted in my hustle and bustle around the hallways to stop and pick up your tricycle, you know. And you know that rope we used to pull you around on? Yeah. Well, I haven't gotten to hot rod you down the halls in I don't know how long. I understand you got a cart now you're going to get to hot rod yourself on. And really, Miss Phyllis, you've left an awful lonely spot on the front row about the right middle of church. And we're sure glad to see you back. A campus that misses its mascot misses a lot indeed, and we've missed you. And we're glad to have you back just in time for Halloween. I got something for you. Trick or treat. Miss Phyllis, would you like to say a few words? She's in a brace. She can't sit up. But if you'd like to say a few words, Miss Phyllis, here you go.
I'm so glad to be back. Thank you for the many cards and letters.
All right, let's give her a hand. We got that up in educational. Am I supposed to do it? Okay. Thank you. Educational concepts class did that this morning, and we will be doing it with the real person Monday. You may be seated. That was Greg. Greg sounded just like her. Greg's really good. I know you think so. Don't clap. Okay. All right. So we got that up this morning, and I you know, with as much creativity. They killed her. I mean, picture. What? Think creatively, Mr. Mitchell says. Some of you who haven't had the chance to know Miss Phyllis, by the way, she is a Bible college graduate and does research for me in the Scripture. And I depend on her, some of what she does. Phyllis is a spiritual, soul-winning Christian. So if you don't know that, though, and don't know her, then just try to visualize and think what it would be. You might get down like this and try to think what it would be to go through life not able to hang up your own clothes unless you're in a certain situation where they have them. Try to just picture. And I've been trying to think of Miss Phyllis up in Johns Hopkins alone, trying to figure out how she'd get that brace on, because they say it's going to take 2 people, maybe just a few minutes each day, but at least 2 people to put that brace on. And then we made the arrangements that a girl would go up and learn how to put the brace on, but then she had to get herself over to her home in Ohio to get her golf cart. And I think, how must it be not to be able to, I can't hear her sometimes over the phone. Sometimes I can't hear her. Her breath is bad because her organs aren't so you can really hear her well at times. And sometimes she can't hear me because she has hearing aids. And as you just sit and picture, you begin to think, we better welcome her home really good. We better welcome her home really good. And something will come to your mind. If it doesn't, you can get some people around you who have some ideas, and together you can be creative. I don't know. You have to do a lot of thinking, and you have to do a lot of care. When I got the call this morning to be here, I just got it in my Bible and found the notes that have to do with what my major speech will be at the spectacular, and here they are. I've just put them in here, just time after time, as I picked up things from other people, and that's my major speech for the spectacular. So then I asked somebody to take that junk and put it together and type it out, and I tried to figure out where my speech came from. For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb, Psalm 139:13, and Proverbs 23:16, yea, my reins shall rejoice when thy lips speak right things, came from a girl who is already gone from our school because of past terrible drug addiction and is now at Brother Roloff's. And she came to me and said, Mrs. Evans, and I believe actually came to Miss Fry and said, I want you to possess my reins, and we sure tried. We sure tried. But I hadn't seen the verses in the light that the girl showed them to me. So part of my major speech from the spectacular will be from that was pointed out to me from a girl who is at Brother Olaf's. I don't have a creative mind. There is no such thing that I know anything about. It's giving yourself to others, and God gives it back to you. Then Psalm 75, 6 and 7 says, for promotion neither cometh from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. And Brother Jorgensen will be at the spectacular because he pointed that verse out recently in chapel. And I felt, I understand about that. And 2 Timothy 2:2 was pointed out by a Brother Powell. And I didn't have these names down on this junk. I had to go around and quickly ask people. And in educational concepts, the men told me where some of it came from. Some of it I didn't remember where it came from. I just pick here and there. And then, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. And that's from Brother Powell. And from Brother Powell is this: the negative rod and the positive staff. What a tremendous thought right there. And then some girls were in trouble in the dormitory because they giggled in dorm devotions. And out of that, I was trying to teach them, and I said, maturity is not being a victim of others. They said, but Mrs. Evans, other people are laughing, and I see them laughing, and I just start laughing. I said, but when you mature, you have to not let other people dictate when you laugh. And I started to teach, and I started to try to tell them that the reining in the thoughts of your mind will be when you want to laugh, making yourself sit there and maybe leave for a while and go to your grandfather's funeral or something that makes you sad so you won't laugh. Having enough maturity not to laugh because others laugh. Oh, we all do sometimes and make mistakes, but I'm talking about it should not, other people's behavior shouldn't characterize you. Maturity is not being a victim of others or of your own emotions. But Mrs. Evans, I'm the kind that when I get nervous, I just giggle. I am too. I am too. And I have to work at it. But maturity is not being a victim of others or a victim of your own emotions. That came from giving myself to a few girls I love who were in trouble. There are people who give and those who take, but there are not many who will give what it takes. Where'd that come from? Who'd it come from? Cleve McClary. Who gave it to? Where'd he get it? His men. His men. So somebody from Vietnam will be at the spectacular. And then I'm going to talk about we all resist change. And people won't like it if you change and add to your lives. And they won't. It makes them nervous. If you change, they'll say, well, this is what somebody said about Miss Simpson just recently. They're trying to put you in a mold. I don't like it. And it makes them nervous to see somebody adding to their lives. It makes you nervous to change or see someone else change. Because, and they're all worried that somebody might not be true to themselves. The Bible teaches give up yourself and you'll find yourself. Maybe for a while you will be a little different, but you'll find yourself. You're in no danger of losing your individuality. For I say unto you that unto everyone which hath shall be given, and from him that hath not, even that he hath shall be taken away from him. You want ideas, use what you have, which are people around you, details around you, folks around you, situations around you. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Lose your life and you'll get it back. You'll have a ton of creative ideas. Begin to believe that you don't have any ideas on your own. Then you'll be so panicky that you'll get all kinds. If you do have any, give them away real fast. Then you'll be without any, and you'll go, I don't have any. I've got to go get some. And then you'll watch everybody and look at everybody and take from everybody, and all of a sudden people will think you're creative. It's a little thing God does for us when we give ourselves away. I got it from counseling. Reason that people don't want change and they don't like when other people change. And then I got this from a girl too. I realized that I'm not in competition with any woman or girl, that the only time I feel inferior is when I try to compare myself to another woman. And I realized I don't have to compare myself to another woman. I only have to compare myself to the Marlene Evans God meant for me to be. I only have to build other women. I don't have to compete with them. All I'm to do is use them and build them and love them. That's all I'm to do. I don't have to be that other woman. I don't have to compare myself with that other woman. All I need to do is lose myself in the other woman to help her all I can, and then somehow God's going to help me to become a better woman. and be more what he wanted me to be. This particular person is trying to give herself to someone, and yet she's fighting that someone, and she's fighting the someone even in little unconscious ways, just trying her to see if the person she's giving herself will stand true. And I said to that person, you don't have to compete with the one you're giving yourself to. Just go ahead and build her. Just build her. Don't compete with her. All I want to compete with is myself on my record as helping others. I'm not in competition with any woman. I'm a user and a builder of women, I hope. I believe girls ought to be able to go beyond me, way beyond me, and I'm trying to find a way now to send girls and women out of here much better than I've ever been or ever will be. And the only way I know to do that is to go to every woman I know and get everything I can and point every girl to every other woman who has everything I don't have and say, look at